Hey, Bison fans, add a little green in your wallet with the NDSU debit card from Gate City Bank. For every card ordered, Gate City Bank donates $10 to NDSU. Get your Gate City Bank Bison debit card today at gatecity.bank/Bison or instantly at any location. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life. Member FDIC. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Kolpack and Izzo Podcast, brought to you by Gate City Bank with Jeff Kolpack. I am Dom Izzo. Game week is here for North Dakota State football as the Bison open up the 2023 season at the home of the Minnesota Vikings, U.S. Bank Stadium. It's been open all of 7 years, and for the first time, it will host a college football game. The Super Bowl has been there, the Final Four has been there, and now Jeff Kolpack will be there on Saturday, buddy boy.
I don't know if I deserve even.
You're up there. Come on.
Even 2% of that conversation. What do we think?
Let me start on the obvious, and then I want to get to the actual game. When this game was first rumored 2.5 years ago, you and me, Mike, Eric, we're all thinking, wow, 40,000 easy after what happened at Target Field, which was a great day. 34,000, the sun was out. You and I did our pregame show. There were green shirts and gold shirts everywhere. That is not going to be the case on Saturday, and we've gone over the reasons why.
We've hashed it. I came up with another one, too.
Got another reason why?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Well, okay, it's a confluence of factors, right? It's a lot of people just are afraid of Minneapolis, right?
I think there's some, yep.
Eastern Washington isn't as good.
Yep.
Tickets are high priced. There's a Ticketmaster surcharge. And here's the thing about the Twins game, okay? With the Twins hosting the game at Target Field in 2019, the Twins were really good to work with. Dave St. Peter really promoted this game. I mean, he's a Bismarck guy. He's a North Dakota guy. And I think he worked and made sure his organization did it best it could to provide, a good experience. They provided. I think they put the word out.
Yeah.
I think the Vikings. What have they done? They really haven't done anything.
I could tell you. I know there's been some radio promotion down in the Twin Cities. I haven't seen a whole lot, obviously.
But there's been
here.
no Dave St. Peter.
No.
I think really pumping the game with the Vikings. So that's another reason.
Okay. And it's interesting. I sent a photo. I'll send it to you as well. I took a screenshot of the big school championship game at U.S. Bank. This is 2 falls ago. Is Eden Prairie and Lakeville North, 2 big schools. The lower bowl is closed off. There's a game played, I think, at 7 o'clock.
The lower bowl? You mean the upper bowl?
Upper bowl, sorry. Upper bowl is closed off. It was Black Friday, so it's the day after Thanksgiving. It was a pretty decent crowd. I think that's the crowd we may have on Saturday.
18,000, I predict.
It's just way.
I think there's
going to
be some walk up. I think there's people who are going to who have balked at the surcharge of Ticketmaster and saying, I'll just get my tickets there. That's my theory.
Do you believe the destination game experience is over after the Nashville game in 2025?
Well, they certainly need to think twice about it in doing it. I really do. It's the FBS game is different at Arizona when there was 10?
I'd say 10,000 easy. They were in Tucson. Yep. And I bet you there'll be 10,000 in Boulder next year.
It's
in Colorado.
FBS. Oh yeah, it's FBS. Oh. It's a different thought. It's an opponent that and it's a stadium you haven't been to. People have been to Minneapolis. Is that really a destination game? I guess it is, but it's not really. It's not Nashville. It's not Vegas. It's Minneapolis.
So you think
you've been there a lot?
NDSU miscalculated on this? Of thinking there would be
because
interest in going to U.S. Bank?
When you have a successful venture like you did in 2019 at Target Field, and let's not forget about the games with the Gophers in 2011 at then TCF Bank, the games at the Metrodome in 06, 07.
There were 30,000 people there.
Yeah.
Bison fans.
So why not capitalize? You just can't predict that all of a sudden it would shut off as much as it has to this point. I think, no, they didn't miscalculate. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you?
To go back there, yes. It's your biggest alumni base. I wouldn't think twice about it. I think going forward, though, after the Nashville game, and who knows? I mean, Nashville's the hot town now. I don't know if it will be in 2025 the next time this comes up.
I'd be very hesitant about scheduling something.
Beyond that, Las Vegas we've heard rumored because the Bison have availability, I think, in 27 because they don't have an FBS game scheduled
UND
for
hockey has done well in Vegas and Nashville.
Yep.
But it's also UND hockey, and it's hard for.
And the stadiums are much smaller. I think the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, they got 20,000.
I was going to say it's not a football stadium.
Allegiant Stadium is 65,000. Much like U.S. Bank Stadium is. I don't know. I'm excited about it. It doesn't dampen my excitement for the game on Saturday. I personally, if you had ever told me I would call a game from an NFL booth, I would say no way. I mean, I'm jazzed about that, but I fully expected there'll be a great crowd, and that's not going to be the case on Saturday, and that's a little disappointing because it's a great. You were there for the greatest comeback in NFL history.
Yeah, Indianapolis Colts
last year.
People don't leave if the Bison are down 36-0. What was it? 30.
It was 33-0.
33-0.
33-0.
Yeah, people around me, season ticket holders around us were leaving. They were out of there.
It's
and we said no. We paid a boatload for these tickets, at least for me. That's what I felt like. I go, I'm not leaving. But we weren't going to leave anyway.
I have a couple of tweets I want to get to of our podcast last week. We were talking about the Fargo Dome. One goes, listen to your podcast. If the seats are changed, I think it's all gold. It's too dark in there already. Forest green would make it worse than the blue already in there.
So we're going to the Fargo Dome renovation.
Yeah, renovation that we talked about in last week's podcast.
I don't think yellow seats. I think that'd be too.
Not great.
But dark green, I could go for that.
Yeah,
I'd like to see new seats. I'll be honest.
Yes.
I would.
Yep.
I'd like to see new seats. The blue and red, and I got to look into this, but the blue and red are so 80s, almost 90s.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
There's no doubt on that. And I think it ranks up there with, amenities when you go to a game. If fans that are going to go to U.S. Bank Stadium, what are they going to have in all their seats, Jeff?
Cup holders.
Yes.
I know. It sounds simple.
There are two things the fans are going to have on Saturday I've been clamoring for.
Okay,
Cup holders and Wi-Fi.
No, Wi-Fi.
Yes. When they walk in the
I gotta get off the floor.
When they walk in the stadium on Saturday and they turn their smartphone on, it will ask, do you want to connect to the U.S. Bank Stadium Wi-Fi?
This is going to be too much. You're not going to be able to handle this.
I'm just saying. That's it.
I might have to. You might have to be medicated when you walk in.
And I'll be on the press box Wi-Fi. It's going to be even better. I'm just telling you. That's what you get these days. So I wanted to make sure we hit back on that because there's a topic that
okay. What's the other
talked
tweet
about? It says really when there's a gold out for most games, I think empty green seats make it look dark and dingy. Yeah. It's better than blue and red right now. I know again.
And a little. Yeah, I mean, if there's some neutrality that you want, I think a dark green is a little more neutral, if you will, than yellow.
Again, I know it's not the highest of priorities that are on Rob Sobolik's plate, but
you remember the Spokane arena when the Bison played in the NCAA regional in Spokane? Mm-hmm. That arena had black seats. I thought that was kind of cool.
Not bad. Yep. And that also been renovated pretty recently, if I remember right, too, for the Bison played out there in 2015. Okay.
Wi-Fi. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I know it. Just pick yourself off the floor on that one. Here comes Eastern Washington, Jeffrey. We have seen all the matchups, you and I, going back to 2010 when this all began in Cheney, Washington, December of that year with one of the most infamous Bison football games in school history. They are coming in off one of their worst years, or one of their worst years since 2005. They only won 3 football games last year. One of the worst teams against defense in the country, next to last against the run. This is a tough job for Aaron Best to come back in a Big Sky that is pretty good at the top. Montana State, Montana, Idaho, Weber State. Nothing about this is an unusual position for Eastern Washington to be. And you said yesterday on our TV show you thought they were overrated, that they should be lower in the Big Sky.
Let me lay a couple stats on you. Okay, 289.0. What do you think that is?
I think I know this stat.
Yards given up
yards
per game
allowed per game
last year.
So nearly 300 yards a game.
504.2 total offense given up per game last year. And I don't think those stats, if those stats were Cal Poly, do you think they'd be 7th preseason?
No, they'd be 10th.
Yes.
10th or 11th. Yeah.
So reputation has the Eagles at number 7, I think, more than anything else. And reputation may get them better in a hurry more than anybody else because they have great players over the years. They have great receivers. Remember Kendrick Bourne and Cooper Kupp on the same team. They've had great quarterbacks over the years. And so schools like that are better able to get better in a hurry after a down year.
Their defense is young, though. They have They've lost some guys. Some guys have moved on. But maybe that's a good thing.
Like
though.
the great Ed Kolpack would say when he'd read about when the coaches would send in their preseason analysis. You know,
that's like great. The fact that they used to do that.
The Class
is awesome.
B schools would send in and you go, yeah, but we have everybody back from a 2-7 team, and my dad would go, why the hell do you want him? He'd say it privately. Why the hell do you want everybody back from a 2-7 team?
That's a good point. That sometimes you may not want.
Always good to throw an Ed Kolpack quote in
There's
there.
no doubt about that. This is an intriguing spot too, because we've talked about this in the past with the financial uncertainty around the whole athletic department and the university as a whole. This is are we done seeing Eastern Washington at the top of the Big Sky? That's a question I want to pose to you because
it's a question that needs to be asked.
I think very well it could be. I think the other schools are certainly in a better financial shape. The Montanas certainly are. It seems like Idaho has found its footing in FCS football after a couple of rocky years when they moved down. Weber, Jeff, has been good for a decade. Now they have a new head coach as Jay Hill has moved on. Sacramento State has been really good at the top of the Big Sky.
Well, I mean, there's an article from ew.edu. It's a university website. And here's the headline. Are there circumstances that would trigger the university to declare a severe financial crisis?
Wow.
January 11th, 2023 article.
Not great.
No.
Not great. You got that out there. And yet, with all this swirling, yes, they have some really, really good players. Efton Chisholm, the third wide receiver, really good player. Their quarterback, Kakoa Vesperis, can wing it. Now, is he of the likes of a Vernon Adams, a Bo Levi Mitchell, a Gage Guru?
Well, we don't know.
We don't know. But he's got some ability that for a young Bison defense, it's going to be thrown out there for the first time. Matt Entz said it Monday, and he's dead right. I wouldn't be surprised if Eastern has a couple of big plays. If Bison fans, might have to pick themselves off the floor, they're at the game like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. Yeah, Eastern can do that because they have those kind of athletes.
I'd probably throw it every down if I'm Eastern.
Every down? They didn't even do that in the heydays with Vernon Adams. They didn't do that.
Rushing offense. Last year they were 76.
Yeah, that's not great. No.
Passing offense 31st.
Yeah, I haven't spent a whole lot of time getting to know their running backs because I don't know how often they're going to do that. It's just an interesting point because we always assumed Eastern Washington as in the mix. This is the first time since 2005 they're not ranked. I mean, in the preseason poll, that alone shows you the consistency they've had over the
coach has got to be on the hot seat.
I would think so. New AD came in this summer, and granted, Aaron Best is a lifelong Eastern guy. He played there. He's coached there for the better part of almost 20 years. He was Bo Baldwin's right-hand guy after Bo left.
Well,
He's been
Pat
the guy.
Fitzgerald was a lifetime Northwestern guy. They found a reason to get rid of him.
Yeah, well, there was stuff going on there, but I'd be interested too. There's a new AD. That's not his guy. It's just always something I think you have to keep in mind.
Did Bill Chaves hire him?
Yes, he did. So
he was a former assistant, former player,
right? So
and really, with the next in line after Bo Baldwin left,
who was the guy?
It was pretty natural for him to take it.
Best to take over there. Okay, so we've talked this to death about our questions around the Bison football team for the last month. Now it's actually time to get out there and go. I'm going to give you two guys I think to click on Saturday. One, I think, is Mehki Collins. I think he is going to come out and have a couple of highlight catches on Saturday.
Is this intel or is this gut feeling?
This is gut feeling. I think Collins is one, and I think Logan Kopp is the other. Kopp really stood out in his one start last year against Illinois State. The Bison coaching staff has been raving about him for the better part of 2.5 years. I think you're going to start to see that on Saturday.
I'm going to look at Eli Green as one of my guys.
Another Minneapolis kid.
Yep. And he's risen to number one on the depth chart. He's been around. He had a big play in the national title game. Mm-hmm. I think Eli Green's going to score.
Farmington kid, Farmington, Minnesota.
He's going to be one of the 52 points the Bison put up.
Wow. You already give me a score. How about defense? You got a guy to click there on the defensive side.
Yeah,
of the ball.
that's a little tougher to peg, and I'm going to stick with my Dylan Hendricks prediction.
You're
that
on the
this
Dylan
guy
Hendricks train.
Is going to. I know it's probably overkill now that I'm on his train, and he's probably going to sprain an ankle or something. But I'm on. I think Dylan Hendricks is going to have a couple of sacks and a breakout performance. On Saturday.
Right. You know, he's got the build.
6'3", 245.
Finally healthy.
And he looks bigger.
Yeah.
He looks like a man out there. I'm like, wow, when I was I saw him in this fall, when we went out to practice. So he looks the part.
Finally healthy too. I mean, he had a really scary road off the field, broken neck to the point where you wonder, about his quality of life, let alone football.
I mean,
now he's
his
back.
arms. I mean, they're not quite as big as yours, but I mean, they're
yeah. He's all right.
He's put together.
He's all right. I want to talk about the quarterback and Cam Miller.
Okay.
And I know Mike wrote about it yesterday. You can check it out at Inforum.com. I thought it was perfectly headlined with the Rodney Dangerfield of the FCS. But he needs to be good this year, Jeff. And I know that might be a Captain Obvious statement, but even he admitted that when you guys met with him on Tuesday, is that he knows he hasn't been consistent. He's won 20 games. He's won a national championship, but he needs a big year in 2023 for the Bison to be really good.
Well, I'll be more specific about this, Dom, in that you look at his stats last year, 160 at 243. That's 66%. That's pretty good.
Good in the West Coast.
13 touchdowns. Yep. 5 interceptions, although some of that was late in the playoffs. But he needs to be good when it counts.
Bingo.
When it counts.
So
fourth quarters.
I'll go back
big
to
game, South Dakota State.
I'll go back to Arizona, where he had a chance to pick up a first down. He slid short of it. Fourth quarter, had a chance to get an extra yard. Didn't do it. Couldn't complete a pass in the fourth quarter. South Dakota State regular season game. After the Jacks got the lead, was the 23-21. The Bison got the ball back with 2 minutes to go, and they couldn't even pick up a first down. Cam couldn't do it. You're dead on about that. I totally agree, 100%.
I think end of story right there. I mean, you can dissect his game all you want, but I think it's when it counts.
So has he led a comeback? I've had that asked to me. The Incarnate Word game, yes, but it was such an odd circumstance. But yes, he did. He did with his legs. He led a comeback in that game. That's the only time that he's led the Bison from behind, way behind, to get them to a victory. And that's, hallmark of Easton Stick. I can't say Trey Lance because the Bison never trailed with Trey, but Carson Wentz,
had some
Brock
great
Jensen,
throws in the fourth quarter.
Steve Walker, all those guys had quintessential fourth quarter moments that we have yet to see out of Cam.
And you
Miller.
had, by the way, a great story on the 2013 K-State game, thinking about Brock Jensen and that fourth quarter comeback, which to me is
the greatest of all time.
The greatest drive of all time. 18 plays, 80 yards, 109 degrees. Craig Bowl crying after the game by himself.
It's pretty good. We're going to get to that on Bison Game Day. We're hoping to make Kyle Emanuel cry when we show him the video of that.
I will make him cry.
I know. You're going to get it? Okay. You're getting it out of him?
I got 2 days to figure out a question that'll make him cry. I will do it.
But going back to the Cam Miller point, I think that's the one. The defense is certainly topic one. But if you could have a 1A or a 1B, it's Cam Miller and how good he is this season and his critical play at critical junctures in the game.
And I'd like to see this passing game be just a little more diverse.
It's got to be dynamic.
It's got to be.
Yeah, they got to have a guy.
Now, here's the thing, though. Are we going to see that against Eastern Washington when you
can run the ball?
You can run 8 yards a carry.
Probably not, but I'd like to still at least try it. Can we get a guy over the middle to make a play? Can they do that? We didn't see that last year.
And I see your Mehki Collins because I love his size.
Yeah, yes. He can go and make a play down the field.
It's kind of a Jake Winicky look, that South Dakota State receiver. He had size, man. Cooper Kupp,
so good.
Maybe not as tall, but Cooper Kupp had size.
Go up and get it, too. Just be dynamic. I'm not asking for Christian Watson, but I am asking to make a play down the field like an R.J. Urzendowski could do, like a Darius Shepard could do, and make it not so that on 3rd and 7, we're going to hand the
5 yards.
Right, we can't get it there. Can we get it down the field?
Zach Mathis is a great in his role.
Yes,
as a possession 6'7" guy, red zone type of guy.
He's not a blaze guy who's going to burner. He's going to go down the field.
No. And he's developed into a great receiver in that role.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to, and we're not trying to
downgrade him.
Downgrade him.
No. He's perfect in his role. But they need a guy to be able to stretch the field, not only go over the middle, but also stretch the field. And they don't have that.
Zach Vra, I don't know if he was a 4-4 guy, but he's able to stretch the field.
Right. Every time you knew there was going to be a 35-yard
He always got that step or two on guys. Not always, but he consistently got that step or two on D-backs.
I've been hearing about this receiver class, Jeff, for 2 years. It's time now to see it. Entz has told us, well, we got great depth. Okay, I got to see it out there. I got to see him have a game, 8 receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown. Nobody did that at all last season. I understand your offense was built differently because you had a freak at running back in Lipke, but I'd like to see that materialize a couple times this season.
A little more diversity,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep.
Creativity,
right?
And I know it's a power. You can't just shelve the power game,
Right, but they have set all three of the decision makers here. Entz, Roll, Hedberg have all told me we have had conversations about this. We are going to wing it. That's the words they used. I looked at them like, you do know what school you're at, right?
I don't think we're going to see winging it against Eastern Washington.
Right. And that's the thing I caution fans on because, again, I think NDSU could run for 350 yards in the first half, potentially, in this game. I think it could be a huge game for Barika Penu in this game. I think his coming out party.
Okay.
I think his coming out party is coming. And maybe this weekend. It's on tap there. So,
I like TK at home.
Yeah, that's a good call, too. I think, and you mentioned this yesterday on our show, he bided his time. He was a tremendous high school running back.
Yeah.
He was, 5th or 6th on the depth chart at one point when he was up here.
And you got to respect a guy who's stuck it out, who was number 4, 5, 6 on the depth chart. What, for 2-3 years?
Easy. Yep.
Just
At least 2 years.
Just a garbage time guy.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, big lead. He got the
guy
he was
in.
a sacrificial lamb going up the middle.
Exactly right.
Because they were running out the clock, and they
you know what?
called off the cops.
Almost every time, though, he would break one. Over the last 2 years, he's had 2 touchdowns over 65 yards. So even when they've tried to run it up the middle, TK has broken for
average 6.3 yards a carry, 5 touchdowns, 58
I thought
carries.
When Tamarick got hurt in that Sanford game last year, TK showed us something. He scored a touchdown in that game. He's got good wheels. He's got some ability there that he'll be okay at that number 2 spot.
And I'm going to do a preemptive strike in here. I don't want to talk about is Cam Miller, is he going to rotate? Or
I'm leaving that for Saturday.
Are you?
I'm leaving that for Saturday. So
okay,
it's fair game then because I think we have to.
Is Cole Payton going to throw the ball? So okay, let's just table it.
I'd like to discuss it on Saturday if that's
well,
okay.
I'm tired
with
of
you.
talking about it, honestly, but I'll do it on Saturday.
Last question before we do our pick 'em here, and we'll pick some games we're not going to pick on Saturday. The division as a whole, I've had several experts come on. I asked them, okay, give me your Final Four for December. Invariably, Jeff, it's 3 of the same Final Four from last year. So
I don't know. I'm not sure how you not do that right now.
And that's my.
So who's the 4th?
Right. I've heard William and Mary thrown in there.
I'm CAA. I'm not a believer.
I went outside the box on this. I went with Holy Cross because I think they're going to be really good again. They scared the heck out of SDSU in the quarterfinals last year.
That's a pretty good pick.
I went outside the box with the Patriot League champs. But that's the rub. You already can pretty much put in pen the other 3. And that's the upsetting part of where we're at with
Montana
FCS.
ever make a run?
It's been over a decade since they've made the Final Four, 2011, and they still haven't got to beat Montana State. They have the Bobcats in Missoula this year, so there's an opportunity. But I don't know. I'm not on.
There's nobody from Ohio Valley.
See, that's the thing. I'm not
I'm
on the Furman bandwagon.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy about Furman. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I'm not on Idaho. You got to win a postseason game before you can give some attention from me. I said the same thing about Sacramento State. Sac State won one playoff game.
Who besides James Madison from the CAA has made a big run?
Well, Delaware did, but then in that weird spring season, so I'm going to throw that out.
And we keep waiting for Delaware.
Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna be the next JMU. Well, I gotta see.
I would say to your question, no, nobody.
Yeah,
nobody has. Richmond hasn't. Maine, we're going to see next week. They certainly haven't. New Hampshire has fluctuated. They think they might be getting back. The league is 16 teams now, so it's you're going to have a year like William and Mary could, where they don't play any of the good teams because of the the massive number of teams you have in the league. That's just the advantage they may have on scheduling. So I don't know. I'd be really surprised when we get to the middle of December and 3 of the 4 semifinalists are not the same that we know from last year.
William and Mary's schedule.
Yep.
Campbell versus Wofford at Charleston Southern versus Maine at Elon at Virginia.
I think they can.
FBS.
Yeah, Virginia's bad. They can win that game.
Towson, Monmouth,
Not
Albany,
good.
Hampton.
They could win all their games this year.
Yeah. They don't play Delaware.
Yep.
They don't play Villanova.
They play New Hampshire, you said, or no?
Nope.
So they don't play 3 of the best schools in the league.
Elon's about the best.
Yeah, and they're okay. Elon was a playoff team last year. So,
Richmond, I guess.
But Richmond hasn't been good in a while, though, either.
Yeah.
That's the unbalanced schedule, man. The Big Sky has thrived on that for years, where team can. Sac State did it, where they didn't have to play any of the super hard teams at the top. I mean, it's the
and we
advantage you
believe
can have.
Sac State losing Troy Taylor will take a step.
I think they're going back to the pack. I do. I think that. Some disagree with me, but
I thought Taylor's, and what I've heard, he's a tremendous coach.
I mean, he's got the job at Stanford now, so there's a reason why. I think the top four in the Big Sky are the Montanas, Weber, and Idaho. I think that's the top four and how that goes this year. Should we do some pick 'em here?
Let's do some picks.
All right. Now, these are not games. We're picking early because we've got some games we'll pick on Saturday. Bob Nielsen is back for another year at South Dakota. You surprised that now former AD David Herbster did that, gave him an extension? They gave up 56 in their final game last year against Northern Iowa.
Well, he had to go one way or the other, either fire him or
right.
I don't think he could have left it in limbo. So
I'm surprised he's back. I am. I really am. USD has one playoff appearance.
If he was here, it would have been gone in a heartbeat.
Yeah. They're opening tonight at Missouri. I'm not sure how good
Missouri's
Missouri
okay.
is. Aiden Bauman is the guy, Todd Bauman's son, the big lefty who transferred in from Iowa State. I think Mizzou wins this game probably by a couple touchdowns, but I'm intrigued to see
you think
USD.
it's close. I like USD's linebackers. I think they got some guys back healthy. They have their running back healthy.
Travis Tice.
This game will go into
the fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
South Dakota played early. They played well early last
year. They gave K-State a little bit of a run for their money, and the year prior to that, they nearly beat Kansas the year before that. Speaking of the Jayhawks, they play tomorrow night against Mo State. Ryan Beard's debut in Lawrence. What do we make of the Bears this season, minus Bobby P?
Well, they need a quarterback, and I don't know if they've named one yet. I haven't seen
either.
It was a battle between three guys, and I think Ryan Beard's in the preseason conference call that he may wait until the day of to name a starter. He goes, I don't know. New coach. I think they need to have some growing to do in the non-conference.
Kansas is pretty good, too. I think Kansas.
Lance Leopold's turned it around.
He is a good coach. He won it a ton at Whitewater. He won at Buffalo, and now he's winning in the Big 12.
It's not easy. We've been there. We've been to Kansas.
Yeah. That is.
It's not the greatest facility,
spot.
although they're going to renovate that facility.
That is a tough spot to, because football is, can we say it's an afterthought? Is that too harsh a thing to say about there?
It's been an afterthought for years, until last year. I think they had a couple years under who was the former coach?
Mark Mangino. They made the Orange Bowl. Yep. Here's a team I'm sneaky high on, also in the Big Sky. UC Davis is at Texas A&M Commerce, a new Division I opponent. I like your guy, Dan Hawkins. I think Davis is going to be in the mix in the Big Sky.
Haven't looked into him this year, so I'll take your word for it.
I think Davis is a team. Watch.
Okay.
They may make some waves out in the Big Sky this year. I got one of the big boy games since it's tonight. I'm going to it tonight. Nebraska, Minnesota tonight. PJ against Matt Rule making his Husker debut. What do we think tonight?
Really curious on Nebraska if Matt Rule can turn it around right away. And he's got the pedigree, man. He's a coach. I think this is a big year for PJ in that they've sort of been, and they can't find a quarterback.
Well, they think Kallick-Manis is the guy.
We'll see. I thought he was okay last year in the limited time I saw him, but just for whatever reason, the Gophers have never really had that great quarterback under PJ.
No, that's bad. Heck, when's the last great Gopher quarterback, period?
Tony Dungy?
It's a long time ago, man. That's 40 years ago. They are good. I mean, Minnesota won 9 games. I mean, PJ's got to win in 8-9 games. This schedule this year is tough. They play Ohio State this year. They play Michigan. He hasn't beaten Iowa yet. This is a biggie tonight. They got to get this one, because if not, they're not beating any of those teams I just mentioned. Iowa's good, too. And they still have it. And that game's in Iowa City this year. I think Minnesota wins, but I think it's going to be close.
Big year for PJ.
Yeah.
I mean, again, they've been that team on the doorstep, but never been that team. Maybe they'll never be that team.
Yeah. Before we go, tease what you got coming up, your game day story that people can read at Inform.com.
The Young family. Sam's getting his first start at strong safety and grew up in a family of defensive backs. His 3 brothers were and are all safeties, as well as his dad was a Hall of Fame safety at Lawrence University.
Awesome.
he's a highly successful coach in Neenah, Wisconsin, and just a great, tremendous football family. Sam was a walk-on, always had Division I dreams, and a tough nut.
Yeah.
He's from a tough family. His dad played rugby in Europe and across the United States.
That's good stuff.
My dad never played rugby.
No, neither did mine.
Yeah.
I think my dad's tough. He hadn't done that. So that's coming up. You can check it out. It'll be available online.
Tomorrow.
Friday and then
morning.
in the paper on Saturday for those that still
Our Gate City
get the paper.
special section is back.
Awesome about that. Looking forward to a ton of coverage in that. Don't forget Bison Game Day. Jeffrey, myself, Logan Campbell, Kyle Emanuel hits the air 10 a.m. Saturday morning inside U.S. Bank Stadium.
I got a couple things planned for you there, buddy boy.
I can't wait. And then our kickoff show at 2:20, and then the game itself, Eastern Washington, North Dakota State, 2:30 on WDAY or your ABC affiliate of North Dakota, also available on ESPN+. We are off and rolling with the new college football season.
We are off and rolling.
Safe travels down to the Twin Cities.
Well.
We'll see you this weekend. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Hope you're at the game. Enjoy the game. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Kolpack and Izzo Podcast, brought to you by Gate City Bank.